All right, hello wine-drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. And you know, a familiar wine is like an old friend. It's always good to see people that have a passion for what they do. And over the years, their passion just doesn't change. You know, and it seems to grow in those of us that are lucky enough to be graced with an occupation that is not taxing on their soul. Rather, it's the sole reason that they exist. And I remember the first time that I met Don Hartford back when he was releasing his first vintages of Hartford Court wine. And he put on a tasting at Two Chefs and plotted his wines blind against Grand Cru Burgundies and some of the top-level Grand Cru Burgundies, DRC, Loire, Jaillet, an incredible lineup of wines. And blind, the 29 tasters and myself, I think there's one person that picked the Burgundies over his California wines. And just an amazing show. And I know I was very young at that point. It was like 20 years ago. So, you know, maybe I wasn't, that versed in the great wines of the world at that point. But the other 29 people were pretty much with me on his wines being the better wines. Maybe it's unfair to plot young California wines against young Burgundies, but nonetheless, these wines are at the very top level of quality for California Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and the Zinfandels. And you know that I don't like Zinfandel. The people who have been watching the show, I don't like it very much, but I have to say Hartford's Zinfandels, because they call everything else Hartford Court now, and the Hartford label is just for their Zinfandel wines, are outstanding. All of them come from 100-year-old plus vineyards. Well, we started out with a little Chardonnay today from the Russian River. This is the first vintage of this cuvee. They used to make a Hartford Chardonnay in the $20 price range that we sold a ton of. This wine's going to be like $30, and they make 3,000 cases of this. Some of it comes from the single vineyards and a little different approach to making this Russian River. They're trying to give you a wine that is pretty characteristic of what you're going to find in the Russian River area there. And the Rude clone, highly floral and aromatic from Green Valley. A lot of this fruit comes from. It's got this lovely lemon drop candy, lemon citrus note. The Laguna Ridge, where Kistler and Dellinger is located. They get some of their fruit from Dellinger. I think they're the only one that actually gets fruit from Dellinger. They have a lovely baked apple pie and candy ginger note to this wine on the finish. This wine sees 100% mallow, 10% stainless steel for a little more brightness, and 35% new oak. So you do get a little oak spice in this wine. Lovely concentration and richness on the palate with this wine. A lovely bouquet, some cinnamon spice and vanilla bean creme brulee, and lovely rich and creamy feel on the palate. Did I just say lovely twice in one review? This wine is delicious, and that vanilla bean creme brulee note showing through on the finish with nice balance and freshness here as well. An excellent bottle of Chardonnay, the Russian River Cuvée, the 2010 Hartford Court. Hartford Court Seascape, and one of the rules is if you're so close to the ocean that you can see it, it's going to be really hard to get the grapes right. But because of the elevation of this vineyard, even though you can't see the ocean, they be able to get the grapes right. This is one of my favorite single vineyards from Hartford Court. This is in the $65, $70 price range, and a lot of personality, a lot of character. That's what they're looking for, for these single vineyard wines. Wines that produce wines that are unique and have the similar qualities of that vineyard site every year. And this Seascape definitely does, kind of like an old friend that you see that you haven't seen for 5-10 years or whatever. You just catch right back up with it. And really lovely wine. This is really concentrated and rich. This vineyard's picked in late November sometimes. And it's kind of like a green pea kind of note to it, something I get in a really cold climate. Chardonnay, some orange blossom, lemon lime, citrus character. You notice a slight briny character in this wine as well. Exotic spice. Don said it's like a margarita when you open up the barrel. And this wine, it's got just lovely concentration on the palate, lovely depth. It needs a little time to open up. That's right, folks. Chardonnay, put them in a decanter, open them up, especially ones of this quality. They're going to be good with a couple hours in the glass. The Hartford Court Russian River Pinot Noir was next. This wine has that lovely cherry kind of fruit, lovely. This is a hallmark of Russian River, loamy, earthy, cola qualities also. They purchased around 50% of the fruit for this cuvee. The Russian River cuvees are the only wines that they purchase fruit for. Everything else is estate. In this lineup has a lovely kind of cinnamon clove spice to it as well. Really rich and well endowed on the palate. Lovely black cherry, black raspberry fruit, exotic spice, floral notes, smooth and velvety texture. Lovely richness in this wine. An excellent example of Russian River Pinot Noir. Next up, we have the Fog Dance Pinot Noir. This is a single vineyard. It's a sub-region of the Russian River Valley, which is Green Valley, where this wine comes from. And it's a relatively new single vineyard for them. They planted it around 15 years ago. Relatively new. 777 and 666 clone. tone. And got some fog intrusion here in this vineyard. That's the name of the vineyard. And the nose is a little subdued in this wine. Needs a little time to open up. Some flinty notes, kind of Burgundian character to this wine, broader and denser. And this blood orange kind of citrus notes, really interesting in this wine. Lovely dark raspberry fruit, pretty floral notes as well. Some exotic spice in there. Really nice complexity on the nose. This wine is big but has lovely freshness, black raspberry fruit, and some of that blood orange citrus coming through on the finish, along with a good hand of spice. Very long, most excellent juice. One of the best Pinot Noirs I've had from this 2010 vintage. And then the Highwire Zinfandel. That's right, I said all of their Zinfandels, 100-year-old vines. This is one of the coolest regions for Zinfandel in California. Bright berry, kind of cherry notes in the nose, lovely brown spices, fennel seed, white pepper, blackberry jam, really pretty floral notes, violets. This wine's really well endowed on the palate. They treat Zinfandel kind of like Pinot Noir here. They want it a little more elegant, not going to hit you over the head with the alcohol and with the oak. They have a very heavy sorting regime for this wine because Zinfandel has a propensity to produce berries that are ripe, overripe, and unripe on the same cluster. So a really heavy sorting, 100% wild yeast, a really elegant style of Zinfandel on the palate, even though it does have that rich, zammy fruit, that boom bing that Zinfandel has on your palate, the lovely zip of freshness. This one's got a little Alicante, Boucher, and Carignan, just a tint of other varietals because it's a field blend. When they planted these old vineyards, they had a little bit of a couple of their different varietals planted, and they just kept them there. It adds a little bit of spice and zest to the Zinfandel, but it's 95% Zinfandel, an excellent balance in this wine. A great example of Zinfandel, which you won't find often, in my opinion. All right, that's what I had to drink with Don Hartford. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.